Listen Lanarkshire is a community radio station governed by the registered charity Getting Better Together Limited. Therefore, the radio station itself retains political neutrality, and any political views or comments aired as part of political discussion programming or otherwise are not the views of Listen Lanarkshire, nor of Getting Better Together Limited. The station has a set of key commitments found on the Ofcom website, and we adhere to all necessary Ofcom rules. For more information or inquiries, please contact us at radio@shotshealthyliving.com.
This program is a political discussion and commentary show. It contains robust political discussion and strong opinions. Politicians with a sensitive disposition should turn off now. The views expressed by contributors are their own and are given in a personal capacity as residents and individuals. They do not represent the views of any council, Listen Lanarkshire, or any associated organization. No council resources are used in the production of this program. Contributors who hold elected office are not speaking on behalf of their authority and are participating in a personal political capacity. This is a great show, beautiful show, big beautiful show, so big and so beautiful. These guys are great, not as great as me.
Political and satirical podcast, all aimed at poking fun at those in power, and in particular those naughty political groupings that still exist who are controlling the purse strings within North Lanarkshire Council. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Greg Lennon, back by unpopular demand, and just here to ensure that no other person live on this podcast this evening is currently on the payroll of the Labour leadership. I'll just make sure just now we've got a complete and utter disclaimer.
Absolutely not.
Well, you boys are missing out because old Jim's got some money to throw about. Money for old rope, I hear, as they say in the chamber. Anyway, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined, as always, by my friend and partner in procedural crime. It is the one, the only, the Belsey Hill bowler himself, Mr. Jerry Brennan. Jerry, how are you?
Greg, very well this week, particularly well this week, and as always, it's an extraordinary pleasure.
Jerry, I have to be honest, that introduction there was actually far grander than normally you would get.
It was very well put over. It was very grammatically correct.
That makes a change.
One of your finer intros.
Makes a change, Jerry.
Yes.
Anyway, it's good to see Jerry here this evening, Barry, without his usual gusset. His wee belly's out there hanging tonight. So I'm glad for those who will be watching the podcast that our Jerry will be on full display. Anyway, Jerry.
Greg, I can actually hear you getting fatter over here.
He holds it well.
Anyway, Jerry, it's the 6'2" stature. You can hide it in there. But anyway, Jerry,
go for it.
We are joined this evening by a man who needs no introduction. However, we do have to get his credentials before he participates in this podcast, because there's been some people that have been very naughty boys out there, Barry, and we don't know whether they're appearing as an elected member or a resident or a member of the public. Barry, just for clarity, how are you and what are you appearing in tonight's show as?
I'm good, Greg, and I'm appearing as myself as usual.
As a resident,
as
Barry.
a resident, as myself.
That's good. So we are joined by the one and only European blind golf champion and our old pal Jerry, Councillor Barry McCluskey. And it just so happens that that's your other job, Barry, and I'm sorry, we can't hide that fact sometimes. No. But you are here to participate as a resident.
Just because you can be recognised as such doesn't mean that in every waking moment of your life you're an elected member.
There's a question in this, Jerry, and I think the question is that a reference to Dr. Jerry Brennan? Would that mean that you would be potentially here tonight, this evening, as a doctor within who knows what, the medical profession, and you don't get a day off. Is that the way it works?
Not at all. I mean, I think I was speaking to somebody a few weeks ago. I'm probably better known on this show as the Bells of Hell bowler than anything. You know what I mean? So, anyway,
let's move on. Tonight we will be covering lots, Jerry. Yesterday there was a dramatic scene in the All Communities Committee in North Lanarkshire Council where, and this is one of those one doth protest too much, there was calls for the SNP group that the chamber is anti-democratic under its current Labour leadership, which I nearly fell off my chair laughing at, Jerry, because again, if they'd actually opened their eyes and taken heed to the warnings that have been getting presented for the last 2 years, they would absolutely understand it's anti-democratic within that chamber. However, there is another part to this, Jerry, which I think is absolutely staggering, and we'll come on to in a minute, is the level of incompetency that exists within that SNP group. Because ultimately, and I hate to be the one to say this to them, and I know there'll definitely be some of them listening this evening, you were rather foolish by submitting an amendment with your 24-hour window. Because ultimately this is smoke and mirrors by the administration, which you signed up to. You profess too much, and you actually signed up to this entire structure that has now been enacted upon you. So hell mend you. And we will be coming on to discuss that in great detail.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to... I mean, I try to watch as many of the committees of the council on the webcast, but I've watched a lot of the different local authority webcasts as well. I mean, I watched quite a bit of South Lanarkshire stuff, I watched Glasgow stuff. The quality of their webcast
or debate, Jerry. Quality of debate.
We're not even going down the route of how the governance functions, right? We're just talking about the quality of the visual production and the quality of the sound.
Yeah,
much better elsewhere than North Lanarkshire's. So today I was looking forward to watching back yesterday's communities committee, but strangely, Greg,
strangely enough, Jerry,
it's no what
you took the words out my mouth, because I was about to watch it today as well, and it was nowhere to be seen.
Call me Shirley.
And normally in normal times the webcast just goes up. I mean, often it's up a few hours after the committee itself, and then members of the public who've missed the committee can get home from work, and if there's anything of interest that they've seen on the agenda, they can watch it. But last night I made my tea, I had my shortbread out,
so we
ready to hit the button, and
missing webcasts. Why do you think that would be? Because ultimately, and you've hit the only point there, Jerry.
Thank you, Greg.
With regards to the fact that these things are tend to publish roughly about 10-20 minutes after the meeting's finished. But yet the only ones that have never ever had a delay in publishing are those committees that have been contentious, normally involving us. Now, for the good folks at home, just so you are aware, and if you've missed the last couple of episodes, we are no longer allowed to attend committees, because the anti-democratic processes that exist within North Lanarkshire Council shut us out.
Disrupting the meeting, which you know the consequences.
Respectfully, I'm asking a simple question of the chair. Why would members not be permitted to comment on the monitoring officer's advice? Why would that be denied?
It's not a point of order, Councillor Brennan. It's perhaps a question you wish to raise with the monitoring officer.
He's just made a point of order.
We're moving on with the meeting. Standing Order 14. Councillor Crichton.
This is not democratic.
At the fear of asking a similar question, Provost, as respectfully clarification, Standing Order 46 maintains that you have to give sufficient time for a point of order to be substantially made and understood. I don't know what the standing orders were that were made by Councillor Lennon, because there were numerous, but it did seem a very quick decision on your behalf to be able to assimilate that information.
Thanks for your low opinion of me, Councillor Crichton, but I understood it perfectly clear.
Not at all.
And I don't need any lectures. I do appreciate that, but I thank you for your comment anyway.
So now what we have is the most scrutinising elected members, 5 years, no longer allowed to attend committees. And now, the bit for me in this is whilst they were all having their moment and thinking that they're far more superior with their sniggers, etc., they now feel the brunt of it themselves. But the funny thing is, I think there's a comparison here with Anas Sarwar's tactics yesterday and the SNP's tactics yesterday. It's actually quite a Twilight Zone moment for the two of them, because the two of them have made a bit of a TC about it.
Indeed.
And the problem with making a TC about it is the two of them being shown up for what they actually are. They're charlatans. And basically, the position for Labour and Anas Sarwar, well, they were too quick to jump over the trenches to come and attack Starmer. And in the SNP's case, well, you were too quick to shout anti-democracy and anti-democratic practice, considering the fact that you were complicit in that.
So, we'll take the anti-democratic thing first.
Are we going with that first, or do you want to go with the subject matter first? Because we've still not even actually highlighted what it was all over.
Well, no, I want to go, but I want to take a step back. Right?
We'll come to that then.
The cry here is that the North Lanarkshire Labour Communities convener denies vote on the Aquatec, right? Which
anyone else? No. Colleagues, in Order 15, I have determined that to comply with the petition procedures, the petition report on the Aquatec is relevant, competent and urgent, and be considered as an additional item of business. So this item will be taken first this morning, and I'll pass you over to Heather. Councillor Nolan.
Thank you very much. I've made an amendment available to committee services, so that hopefully it's been copied and able to be distributed.
Thank you, Councillor Nolan. The amendment's been copied just now and will be shared on the screen. Just bear with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All members read amendment. As the Chair, Communities Committee, I deem this amendment not competent. Within the standing orders, we didn't receive it no later than 24 hours. We only received it at 9:30 this morning, and I do appreciate that it was late coming out on Friday for members to read. But as the Chair, just making a decision that it's not competent. So we'll move on. We'll move on to the next item. We'll go to item 2, Community Board Local Development Programme, and I'll pass you over to Matt.
Thanks, Convener. The report in relation to local development programme.
Many people in my ward, Ward 18, Motherwell North, believe is for the chop. They believe it's going to be closed, and nothing is going to stop that. And we'll come on to that as things go. But the SNP group, led by TC, Tracy Carragher, decided that they were going to bring an amendment to the Communities Committee yesterday, forgetting, of course, that you need to give 24 hours formal notice. Right now, that goes back some
which they signed up to,
which they never contested.
No,
at the time. Actually, you need to go back to 2024. We're now in 2026, but as far back as September and then again in December 2024, standing orders were out of the reach of being changed because motions were being brought forward by the administration.
Just for those good folk at home, standing orders are the rules in which the councillors have to engage on. So that's your rule book. That's what standing orders means.
Absolutely. And motions brought forward by the Labour group, uncontested generally by the SNP group, were that standing orders could not be changed for 6 months, and then standing orders couldn't be changed for another 6 months, and then in September of last year they introduced the big governance review, which effectively put standing orders and all governance issues out of touch until December 2026, until the end of this year. So
more or less, Jerry, what you're saying is that standing orders are going to be out of play right to the end of this elected period.
Absolutely.
Until
You've got
20...
governance review.
you have a governance
You've got the
review.
governance review.
So
Barry,
until the re-election of 2027,
quite possibly
that these rules cannot be changed.
these rules can't be changed unless
There's a new administration, and they've got an appetite to change it.
unless standing orders are suspended, right? So if the
But that has to
SNP
go to a
group,
vote again,
but
Jerry.
if the SNP group in North Lanarkshire actually meant what they said, rather than bringing forward an amendment that they knew couldn't go through because you've got to give 24 hours notice,
They should have
to the
suspended
convener,
standing
it
orders.
should have been, I want to suspend standing orders. Standing orders are suspended. It goes to the vote to see.
Shall we give our SNP colleagues a wee lesson? I think I hold it to now, right? But we'll come on to give them a wee lesson in relation to how this actually works, Jerry, because it seems to me they're oblivious in it, or it's a TC moment. And let me put a disclaimer out: I am not naming an individual or initialing an individual. I mean a total car crash moment. That's what that means.
Well, listen, it was to run away crying that this is undemocratic. These structures of the council are undemocratic. That's just the way the council has been for the last 2 years.
With the rules you support,
and for the last 2 years, the reason that the SNP group and the Labour group and others were quite happy for standing orders and delegated authority to be put out of the way was because it shut up the PCNL group and it shut up the independent councillors who left PCNL to stand as independent. So as far as the administration, the SNP, and this is from a members of the public's perspective because they've chatted to me about it, it seems as if everybody was quite happy as long as you guys were shut up. Now, of course, it's a travesty.
Divide and conquer.
It's a
Divide and
democratic
conquer
outrage.
comes to mind, Jerry. Divide and conquer.
In fact, I'm going to read the words here because commenting that the NLC SNP spokesperson and Communities Councillor Adam Smith from Cumbernauld said, "This is an attempt to bury bad news from the administration by issuing the committee documentation just before the weekend, leaving opposition councillors and the public with less than 1 working day to scrutinise the details. Of course, this was not successful and the convener was faced with a full gallery of campaigners today." And yes, there were, because they came to my surgery and I met with them later on. And it goes on to say such outrage from Mr Smith. "It's deeply concerning that instead of investing in the repairs needed to fix the heating, North Lanarkshire Labour seems intent on managing the Aquatec's decline and shutting the doors for good. This is proven by their stifling of debate today," sorry Adam, for the last 2 years, which was quite frankly
A car crash.
Undemocratic. Well, whoop-be-doo, the penny's finally dropped. The debate in that chamber, Adam, Tracy, Alan, whoever is sitting in the SNP group watching it, debate is gone in that chamber, and well, you know it.
Well, you can't have debate in that chamber if your leader of the group takes an enhanced payment for the leader of the administration.
I forgot about that.
Did you forget all about that?
Did
you? My goodness, how can you have
Absolutely.
any reasonable debate? So really the question then becomes, it'll be anti-democratic because
Is it not actually
enhanced payment?
The enhanced payments are to the both groups?
But with the Tories, no,
Yes.
they get rewarded. So the enhanced payment goes in the form of a convenership for the Tories and a deputy Lord Provost for the Tories. So there's a double dunter in there with the SNP. In my opinion, a humble opinion, an educated opinion, are just really jealous of the fact that they get two and just not in.
Audit and scrutiny is a really, really important committee because it is the scrutiny body.
In any other functioning council.
It is
any other functioning council.
It is the scrutiny body of the council, and although the policy and strategy is the feeder committee for it, like any external audits, internal audits need to go through there to be dissected by the leader of the Conservative group.
And it looks good, doesn't it, for an audit perspective, that if there's an opposition leader in there, and
So-
who is on a significantly high.
A very peculiar
payroll.
construction of an administration.
Well, surely there is internal audit processes where that convener can say, I want a full external. Let's even say, let's take it like this, Jerry. If I was the convener of audit and scrutiny, would I have the position or the power to be able to turn around and say the Aquatec, let's say the Aquatec, for where the SNP's gripe is at the moment. Let's say, can I ask for an external audit of the Aquatec to see if the figures and the values being presented in that paper are accurate?
It would need to go to, as I understand it, it would need to go to policy and strategy.
Oh, so I can't call for any
Well, you could.
external, independent authentication in relation to figures being presented.
I guess you could, but I think that the superior committee.
Well, surely, for an audit and scrutiny perspective, there's the SNP claiming anti-democratic. Let's say the SNP find themselves that they're no longer in favour with the Labour group. Their money's been pulled, so that additional payment no longer goes to them. And then all of a sudden they're submitting motions, and all of a sudden Kenny, Daft Kenny Duffy, is not allowing any motions to go through. Could they raise that with audit and scrutiny as being the internal audit for what the actual process of submission motions are? Could they do something like that, Jerry?
Perhaps. Perhaps. Do you know, there's a pattern of behaviour that goes on here, whether it's NLC 9 workers, whether it's school transport, now
the closure of all facilities.
Closure of all community facilities.
Yeah.
It's the Aquatec. Even as I this morning speaking to members of the public, it's what's been relayed to me is it just all seems like front. It seems like front.
Smoke and mirrors, Jerry.
Yeah. I mean, because
mirrors.
if you we'll take school transport, for example.
School transport
right.
was the biggest thing. I think the members of the public actually seen the SNP for what the SNP actually are. They're opportunists.
Yes. So the SNP are the government of Scotland, right? The government of Scotland, with the majority of pro-independence supporters, have a majority for most votes, right? If they wanted to change the statutory distance for school transport to 1 mile, they could, but they don't want to do it. So what the SNP group in North Lanarkshire should be doing is lobbying their own party. Never mind walking away with a working group for nonsense. For it's not even, it's acceptable walking routes, but that
to the bat for right. Councillor Lennon online, please.
Chair, thanks very much. The Scottish Government, under the Education Scotland Act 1980, sets the national framework for school transport and pupil safety. Guidance makes clear that councils must ensure children's journeys are safe and suitable. North Lanarkshire's own new standards admit that some routes currently classed as acceptable will not meet the safety threshold until August 2026. If that's the case, then the responsibility sits with the Scottish Government to step in, either by tightening statutory guidance or requiring immediate corrective action. Can I ask, Chair, perhaps even to the SNP group directly, has your government been notified of these risks, and if so, what action will you demand they take to protect children over the next year? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Andrew, can you comment on that at all? Thank you.
We're not saying that any of the routes that will be enhanced are not safe. This is an acceptable walking route, which is completely different from safe. All our walking routes are safe. Just whether we deem them acceptable or not is defined by our own criteria, and I would like to say that we've probably got one of the most comprehensive walk routes assessments now available within Scotland.
Do you wish to supplement, Councillor Lennon?
Yeah, please, Chair. I would respectfully disagree with that, Andrew. There is numerous reports coming in across the authority of walking routes being unsafe. I can look at my own ward area as well and highlight two. I think that the position here is, and I think that people at home need to know, that the Scottish Government could interject tomorrow and fix this situation, but yet they do not. And again, if appropriate funding was provided to this council, then school transport would be available to all young people and we wouldn't be having this debate. But thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
How these town visions are going to be beneficial to...
Well, what people are being sold, because that's ultimately it. At the back of these town visions, people are going to lose assets that are currently relied upon.
Yeah.
Services are going to be cut and various other things as well, because these visions come at the cost of everything else.
I'm having a vision right now.
Aye,
right.
aye.
Now, what is a vision, Greg?
It is a concept, Mr. Brennan.
Talk about vision, don't speak to me.
Imagine it, Barry.
My vision's not very good.
So
the issue about these visions, these town visions, these concepts, right? I always look at what's produced, right? Because generally speaking, if somebody has gone to the trouble of producing these very lovely, well-produced documents, certified, so you've got the vision for Bellshill, you've got the town vision for Coatbridge, town vision for Airdrie, Shotts, Motherwell.
Massive ward area is left off.
Yours is non-existent. Yours is non-existent. Yeah. So View Park is just, I don't know what View Park is, but
we just get tied in with Bellshill. Bellshill get everything.
Insanely for a town that size. Yeah. It's incredible. But anyway, I did a deep dive again. I actually forgot. I'd done this a few years ago, but I had a look, and we're on line here. But when the podcast goes up, we'll demonstrate this. But I'm looking at the vision for Motherwell, the concept, the idea. It's not set in stone, remember? It's not set in stone, Greg. It's not.
We've learned for the ACC review.
So when I look at, for example, the area around where the Daisy Park Centre is, and the Aquatec is just at the top of Mary Street on the right hand side as you're coming up towards the town centre. So that area, as far as the vision, the concept for the vision, remember, it's not set in stone, it's only a vision.
It is not.
That whole area is zoned for something other than an Aquatec.
Yeah.
That's zoned for residential.
Residential property.
So what I was saying to the group that we're up today is, you know, just have a wee look at that concept, that idea, and maybe give some thought to that. So if you have any questions for the administration, for example, look to get some guarantees that this land where the Aquatec is not zoned for the Motherwell town vision. And I'm not saying it is either, because it's only here in a beautifully presented...
No, but surely those councillors yesterday who professed too much, surely they would have picked up on this, and they would have been raising this point at committee, where the town vision concept currently has a model in there, a scale drawing of what Motherwell is going to look like.
It's really well produced
areas that mark out clearly residential housing, and lo and behold, on that map there is no Aquatec. There is only a big block for residential property.
So some of the stuff's already done. So the upgraded transport interchange is done, almost complete at the railway station. So I'm looking at this vision, this concept, and
City deal money well spent.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, it wouldn't be beyond the wit of human beings to say, do you know what, we already have a really well thought out plan that we've produced in this brochure, setting out what it might be in a concept. Could we make that concept real? I wonder.
Well, I wonder if the SNP group made those points yesterday at committee, and until that video's uploaded, well, I'm sure we'll only have to wait another couple of days and to find out, because ultimately that's going to give the telltale sign. I also wonder as well, in relation to that £7 million to £12 million, whether the SNP made the point, or tried to raise the point in relation to utilisation of the reserves. I wonder if that happened, because we're currently sitting with about £390 million in reserve, and we don't wish to spend it.
That's another good point, Greg. It's another good point. The final point that I would probably make on this is that our fearless leader,
El Presidente.
We normally have the pull-ups for El Presidente, but the picture's there, so I'll give them a slip. A guarantee was given by our fearless leader, Kim Jong-jim, at the policy and strategy meeting. I think it was in October 2024.
Welcome everyone along to this hybrid meeting of North Lanarkshire Council. The Leader of the Council has requested to address full Council, which I'm going to facilitate before we commence business. Councillor Lowe.
Promise, I move we suspend Standing Order 37 to consider an emergency item in relation to the ACC paper agreed by the Policy and Strategy Committee. Articulated views of residents over the last few weeks that there is no appetite, if any, to disinvest in smaller local facilities to subsequently invest in larger venues. As such, the Council will now retain these facilities, but we need to fully recognise and accept that the cost of doing so will be a recurring £4.7 million at a time when revenue and capital costs are becoming increasingly limited. Sadly, reality cannot be wished away. We have £64 million of savings in the next 3 years to make. That, colleagues, is the stark situation of the Council's financial position. I wish I could sugarcoat this reality, but regrettably, this would be a dishonest and flawed perspective. I would thus move that the decision of the Policy and Strategy Committee of 28th of September is now reversed.
Councillor 2024, 2023.
There would be no closures this
There would be no closures this council term, so that would take this through to May 2027.
But remember, this isn't a closure, it's a concept, Jerry.
Well,
it's a concept and the costs are far too high.
So we need to...
But yet, time capsule still survived.
If a decision was taken to close the Aquatec early, it would need to gain support from the council floor, because we would be going against a motion brought forward to the council. This is another one for TC, just to share with the group. Because the motion went to the floor to rescind the decision.
We hope you're listening.
To rescind the decision to close the 39 services that were in scope at the time. That included this decision. So if the Aquatec is closed, there's going to have to be a vote taken at the floor to go against that decision to maintain all of the active and creative community services that were there and which were in scope.
Well, there's already been some closing. Removed already.
Well, there you go.
Where Astley Birkinshaw was removed, closed.
There you go.
So, Aquatec looks like it's heading for a fait accompli.
I think, Greg, the strength of feeling that was put to me this afternoon by a small band of, highly motivated individuals who use that service and whose children use that service, they are going to make more noise, I think, than people expect. They're not going to accept this standing down. And what some of the individuals who came to me today to say is, it's like there's not even a transitional discussion around where these services might be relocated for us to use. What seems to be the case is, if these costs prove to be prohibitive because of a programme of planned decline, then there's nothing transitional for us before new services come up, or the town vision is complete. And that town vision is...
But it seems as if the council's
Greg, it's a 20-year project.
Aye, but that's what I was going to say. It seems as if the council's learned for the ACC closures, threat of closures. Because ultimately what we had is the Band-Aid getting ripped right away and saying these are the facilities that are no longer due to usage figures. So they're no longer viable in the eyes of the council. Now again, managed decline was a relevant part to that argument. Now what we're seeing is these ideas are concepts. It's potentially going to be like this. We're not saying it's going to be. However, what it allows us is over the long term to depreciate, demanage, devalue an asset, and ultimately what you're getting in replace it, a new big community hub, a new big town hub. Is that where we're going to go? Because the amount of finance that's been thrown towards that, and untried and untested, and also a process that was actually highlighted in the Audit Scotland Best Value report to say that there's still no actual identifiable benefit for that modelling. Why would we back everything on something that's untried and untested?
So I think I would direct members of North Lanarkshire Council, not members of North Lanarkshire Council, sorry, the constituents of North Lanarkshire Council who live in areas where these new town visions, these concepts, have been produced, to have a wee look at them and look at what it might look like if this concept became reality.
Do you not think it's funny, Jerry, that we're off committees at such a critical time again? Do you think that that's going to be
the timing?
Because, as I say again, the coincidental nature of this is quite significant. I've got nae qualms in stating for those good folk at home, the first thing I'd be doing is calling for a vote of no confidence in Mr Jim Logue again, because ultimately the buck stops with him and his Labour group, for he has been taking us in this direction for a number of years, and to be quite honest, the community isn't wanting to go with him, because he didn't win an outright majority come that council election. He stole his administration back. That is effectively what he did. So again, we are now putting up with, as local residents, the idea of this dictatorship, totalitarian state, whilst he pays off all opposition leaders within the chamber. It's absolutely scandalous, and for the SNP to say anti-democratic, well, my goodness, dry your eyes, mate. Dry your eyes, mate.
As a pant-waitingly pathetic response. But I think one of the sad things about this is that as we get closer to elections, even next year, remember the SNP group in North Lanarkshire crazily see themselves as the administration
in waiting.
Oh my God! So
administration in waiting.
If these concepts are further advanced in the background than we, who are no longer on committees, might even think they are, then they might have to paddle in the back to be that administration in waiting that will not want to fall foul of officers or anyone else. So it's grim, I think, for those who attend the Aquatec, but I'm absolutely certain that they will fight until the fight is. Well,
here's hoping that the SNP group have received some form of education, and in particular the leader tonight. Hopefully they'll go away. Maybe even debunk us, Jerry. I'm quite happy for that. Go away, challenges, Tracy. Come back, because we know you've taken notes, and scrupulous notes, in relation to everything that's been said tonight. So I'm sure you will be able to do that and come back with the facts. We will gladly have you on the show to have that discussion with.
Indeed.
And on that note, we're going to cut for a quick break, and then we will be back, and we wish to talk about Anas Sarwar and the call for Keir Starmer's resignation yesterday. But also another point that we want to raise tonight is as well, an interesting article came out this evening with regards to certain MPs in North Lanarkshire all taking military funding, or Israeli military funding, with regards to Labour expenses and their campaign expenses. So that'll be an interesting conversation as well. Indeed. We'll be back after these short songs. Hello and welcome back to What's the Point, your number one political and satirical podcast, shining a light on those in North Lanarkshire. Well, just before the break and the last song there, you've got the fear. I think there's many politicians in North Lanarkshire tonight with the fear, Jerry, because just before the break we highlighted a topical newspaper article that came out this evening. And that newspaper article had highlighted that a number of our Labour MPs, especially in North Lanarkshire, not just Scotland, are involved potentially in funding coming from and is really weapons for him. And also, in addition to that, potentially funding coming from Peter Mandelson and Morgan McSweeney. Is that right?
So
Jerry, in case I've picked that up right.
So there's a story was sent to us. I checked the dates on this. It actually goes back to July, but the salient points are important, Greg. So I'll take the Conservatives first. So the Tory party have brought out on their Facebook page or their Twitter page, I can't really make out which one it is, I think it's the Facebook page, that these Scottish Labour MPs took money from an organisation backed by Anna Sarwar's old friend.
Right.
And the old friends that we're talking about are the money from backed by Morgan McSweeney and Peter Mandelson. And the Conservatives ask us to check to see, is your MP on the list? And there's some really prominent names on that list. So Torquil Crichton is on that list. Torquil Crichton was previously the political editor for the Daily Record, who then decided he was going to stand as a Labour candidate, a Labour MP. Graham Downey, Tracy Gilbert, Kirsty McNeill, Imogen Walker, John Grady, Douglas McAllister, Martin McCluskey, Gordon McKee, Frank McNally.
That's your North Lanarkshire's Frank McNally.
So we move into North Lanarkshire. So Frank McNally, Kenny Stevenson.
So this is Kenny, who's the Shotts Labour MP.
And we're in topic Labour and Shotts
just
right now.
Yeah.
Michael Shanks. Michael Shanks was
who won the Hamilton by-election.
Hamilton-Rutherglen by-election. Martin Rhodes, Pamela Nash,
Motherwell MP.
Ian Murray, who was the sole Labour MP, going back to 2015. Chris Murray, Gregor Poynton, Joni Reid, Blair McDougall, who was a prominent member of the Better Together campaign, and Zubair Ahmed. So the Conservatives tonight claim that these Scottish Labour MPs took money from a group backed by Morgan McSweeney and Peter Mandelson. And all of that, obviously, Peter Mandelson is linked to the Jeffrey Epstein controversy. Morgan McSweeney, of course, having fallen his own sword, and he had to leave the Labour Party, and that will come on to Mr. Sarwar.
And just for those good folks at home, we're now live on TikTok, so please join us on that if you wish to have your comments and your views heard. We'll be here for another 30 odd minutes, so please feel free to join in the debate.
When we sometimes we do receive stories just before we go on air, and occasionally we might be caught out, and if we are caught out, it's
listen, if I said Frank McNally earlier in relation to being funded by an really warm group, I apologise if that's not the case.
And it happens quite a lot, so we do try as best we can to check before we say anything, but this story was sent to us last minute, but on checking, it actually goes back to last summer, but it's a relevant story nonetheless, and it's a story detailing Scottish Labour MPs who are among a group of parliamentarians who have accepted donations from an Israeli state-owned arms firm. As revealed by Declassified UK, RUK Advanced Systems Limited paid at least £1,499 to partner with the APPG, sending the money directly to the group's secretariat. RUK Advanced Systems Limited makes missiles for urban warfare and is part of Israel's state-owned defence giant Rafael. While it describes itself as a UK company, Declassified reported that it is controlled by the Israeli government's Ministry of Finance, which is led by far-right politician Bezalel Stonebridge, who was sanctioned by the UK government in June for inciting extremist violence against Palestinians. And of the 30 MPs who are involved in the APPG, 5 are from Scottish Labour, again including Kenny Stevenson from Airdrie Shotts.
Right.
Topical in as much as I hadn't seen that story. I was on holiday, I guess. But an interesting story nonetheless. And
Very interesting
a bit of an
story.
eye-opener as to who funds political campaigns in the UK in particular. So if you wish to, you can look at the Electoral Commission and have a look at the types of organisations who fund political parties, and for your elected members you can look in the register of interests and where they got their money to stand.
So there's quite a few comments coming in relation to Pamela Nash. A lot of people are saying is she's missing in action, and also in addition to that, where you try to email her emails just bounce back. So that's a bit strange. If it's a case that anybody at all is trying to get in touch with Pamela Nash MP, my advice would be contact Kenny Duffy, who's her office manager, or Andrew Duffy Lawson, the current suspended Labour councillor, who also works in that office.
No, I don't know if he works in that office, if I'm being honest. I know that he works for a charity in North Lanarkshire.
I thought he worked in Pamela Nash's office. That was in his register of interest, was it not?
I'm not entirely sure on that, but he's no longer a member of the Labour Party. He's no longer a member of the registered Labour Party. He stands as an independent.
Right, is he still suspended?
Councillor.
Or is he?
As I understand it, Greg, he is suspended from the Labour Party. We don't know the reasons why he's been suspended, but that suspension appears to still be in
place.
Effect.
Wow.
There is there's obvious secrecy behind it because nobody knows what he's suspended for. He's not taking the time to share it with members of the public or colleagues, as far as
So for you good folks at home, how do you feel? Obviously, as I say again, this is a legitimate question. How would you feel if you found out your MP was being funded by an Israeli organisation that's heavily involved in mass production of weapons, etc.? Would that sit easy with you? On TikTok, does that sit easy with you? We would love to hear your views and comments. Do you find that it's an acceptable way for your MP to fund a campaign? And is this the way we're now heading? Is that basically it? That the majority of political parties in this country is going to be, by one stretch of the imagination or another, funded by arms companies in the corporate war machine? Or is it a case that's no tolerable in Scotland and we're kind of against it? It'd be interesting to hear folks' views. Moving on to another point that we kind of highlighted before the break, and what we wanted to talk about was Anas Sarwar's bold gamble yesterday to make the call for Keir Starmer to resign, like there's some sort of level of credibility for Scottish Labour, and that they would be the first to call the charge on the removal of the PM. Now, obviously this must cause a wee bit of friction, and I appreciate Keir Starmer's came out tonight, although I can't see it, to say that he fully supports Anas Sarwar.
I saw that.
But here's the reality. Where does that leave? Because I seen yesterday, and I seen it on the news last night, when Anas Sarwar was making his speech, Jerry, you'll never guess who was in the front row waving him on like a cheerleader. You'll never guess.
Who?
None other than the man himself, that enigma that is Mark Griffin, regional list MSP.
No.
And again, my goodness, I really had to go out and check the moon last night because I thought it was another hunter's moon. I've seen this guy more in this election cycle than I've seen him in the last 5 years. So really, in effect, he was sitting there in the front row. But yet, you had Frank McNally, who's the Labour MP for this area, and again, and all the other Labour MPs calling their support and their confidence in the Prime Minister. Yet in Holyrood, in the Scottish Labour branch office, that basically Anas Sarwar was making the call. Do you think it's a calamitous mistake for Labour? I don't really think it's had the desired effect that they'd hoped for.
I think Anas Sarwar's had his pants pulled down, actually, on that one. I think perhaps there was when we spoke about this last week in relation to in relation to an agreement, a gentleman's agreement. So I know that you were part of a gentleman's agreement that didn't quite go as well as you would have expected.
Correct, yes.
In relation to a candidacy which led to the election of an MP for Uddingston, Bellshill and Christen in 2019.
When others break that agreement.
Indeed. So I think yesterday a gentleman's agreement was perhaps in place prior to Anna making that statement, telling us how Scottish she was all of a sudden, for his country, for Scotland. I've never heard as much tosh because he doesn't really speak generally about his love for Scotland. Talks about his love for his party more than his love for his country. But anyway, he made the statement that he believed that Starmer should go, and that was in the best interest, because the Labour Party, who are the Labour Party, there's no Scottish Labour Party, that doesn't exist. No. That's a
company's house name.
It's an identifier that the Labour Party are allowed to use for elections. But if you look on the Electoral Commission's website, it's the Labour Party, and they're allowed to, as long as the Labour Party
is in the title,
they could put whatever they wanted. They're allowed 12 descriptors. So one of the descriptors that they use.
So just for simplicity and for those good folk at home, we used to be part of a party called Progressive Change. So we decided we wanted Progressive Change Wales. We could then we could do that as long as progressive changes.
So we could have 12 descriptors. We could call ourselves, Shots. Progressive Change if we wanted, as long as Progressive Change Party was in it. Anyway, he came out, and no sooner had he came out, Andy Burnham and others came out behind Keir to say we need unity. We don't need this sideshow, I think was the way Andy Burnham put it. So I think that he's in a bit of hot water, and they can try, the Labour Party can try and pretend that the cracks have been papered over and that all is well again, but people aren't daft.
So for those good folk at home and on TikTok, is Labour getting your vote? Do you think yesterday actually highlighted the Scottish Labour Party for anything other than, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say the fact that Scottish Labour were standing up against their UK masters. Would you see that as a positive sign that Scottish Labour's trying to branch off, in particular to try and win this election? Has it had the desired effect? Are you going to look at Scottish Labour credibly as somebody to vote for on your ballot ticket? Is it going to happen?
Or are you just going to call them Labour in Scotland, which is what they are? It's just
again,
Labour.
An interesting point to add to that just now before we move on for that, Jerry, is Labour must have an indication of current polling now, and obviously it will hit the party before it hits the public or the press, usually a day or two apart in relation to that. And I wonder if yesterday there was a squeaky bum moment, and really in effect Sarwar seeing what his current polling suggesting, and perhaps it was an annihilation of Scottish Labour under his watch. Do you think that's possibly the case?
I'm going to pass.
I think that's always got the case. I think that's really is the case. It's a Hail Mary to try and... Yeah. I think the Labour Party as a whole are divided at the minute.
Do you think so?
I think there's major divides within the Labour Party as a whole.
And that's in relation to the left and the centrists?
In relation to that, but also in relation to, I don't think they're all, let's say the phrase of singing off the same hymn sheet. I don't think the Labour Party, or the English Labour Party and the Scottish Labour Party and the Labour Party in Wales are all singing off the same hymn sheet.
I often have sympathy for Labour Party members, because I do know quite a number of Labour Party members, and there is a lot of good socialist people within the Labour Party. I just you do feel sorry for that contingent, especially if the party continues to try and move to the right, just to try and attract a sort of centrist vote. And to be honest with you, if I was a member of the Labour Party, I'm sure I'd be looking at that going, what a TC, Jerry, what a TC moment. Because ultimately there is no coming back after calling a news conference, and the irony might be that actual Sarwar is sacked in the coming days and weeks, especially in the run up to the election, if the polling falls any lower. Because ultimately, how can you go into an election with an individual that is, on the face of it, looks impulsive?
There's not really been that much change since December. So looking at the polling that's came in from Find Out Now, Survation, YouGov, Norstat and More in Common, by and large the SNP sit on or around 35%. The Conservatives sit round about 10, 11. Labour are probably sitting closer to about 16 overall, and that is disastrous for them, because they're not that far behind the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems are sort of creeping up, maybe on about 10. The Greens, they're 8 or 9%, but it's Reform. Reform are going to end up being the second largest group. They are averaging close to 21% over those periods. So that's from December till now. So it looks as if
staggering.
Labour
in Scotland, it's staggering that Reform are making so much progress.
Yeah, Labour could be squeezed into
third. Yeah,
and we could have Lord. Did he stand down from his house in the Lord? Was it Offord his name is?
Aye.
Former Better Together campaigner, and then Tory donor, and then Tory peer, and now the Scottish leader.
There's a hypothetical question, and the hypothetical question is, where do you think the majority of the Labour Party in Scotland's support sits right now? Do you think it's a case that it's so far centrist now that it's lost its values? And again, obviously with the purge, Morgan McSweeney on the left and the National Labour Party, do you think the idea of any sort of socialist values within, because it's like the SNP, many people did you meet in the SNP that were sort of kiddie on nationalists? I would say there was plenty of them in there, but I would imagine the Labour Party's sort of similar in relation to kiddie on socialists.
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know if Barry feels similar to what I do. I look at the individuals in the Labour Party, and I look at the ones that I see in North Lanarkshire in particular. I don't see. I mean, I'll probably take two individuals and separate them. One of them being Heather Brannan McVeigh, and the other one being Paul Kelly, who I think are...
They're decent. I would say they are decent.
Absolutely.
Very good politicians, both of them.
Yeah, I would say that the majority of those that I come across are career politicians who want to follow in the footsteps of other politicians or other councillors who've gone through the ranks to become elected peace box holders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of... They'll do anything to get ahead.
Yeah.
And it's not about...
Follow the herd.
Well, yeah.
Sheep.
Absolutely. It's not about the courage of their convictions or any political drives that they have. Do you know what I mean? It's all about the party, and the party could sponsor, any number of bad things. They would go along with it if that meant progression.
Yeah. It's a bit strange, isn't it? It is. It's sad, the demise of the Labour Party, I think, in many ways, because ultimately the SNP needs checks and balances. It needs an actual credible opposition, and right now I don't think they've got that. I really don't. I don't think there's anybody there to keep the SNP on its toes as a government in Scotland.
Well, Greg, I say this often, and my grandparents would have been Labour through and through, all their years. And my grandfather was a miner and then worked in the steelworks, so he would have been a strong Labour voter.
I think that was the majority of people's...
Of course it was, from working class backgrounds. But I reckon if my grandfather or my gran was alive today, they would be absolutely astonished with the way the Labour Party is now going. They'd be disgusted with it.
I just think I think it's really sad, and I do empathise with those good people that sit within the Labour Party, especially the membership. And all you want is a more socially just society and country, and are you ever going to see it? Because ultimately I think the criticism to be laid at the SNP government is legitimate in some cases, especially when you look at hospital waiting times and stuff like that, and that's no stuff that's in the abstract, that's stuff that's in the reality.
I think you're right.
And I think that again, if you don't have an effective opposition, and that's where I'll draw the line again, coming back into North Lanarkshire Council. What we discuss here is I okay, we're having a laugh and a joke and sometimes a satirical jab at the SNP group in North Lanarkshire, but the reality of the situation is that there's no an effective opposition. Well, how are you getting the best out of an administration? And that goes for the SNP government is the same way as it would go for the Labour group.
I agree. If you look at the Scottish Parliament, at least the opposition get the opportunity to oppose. Whether they bring forward stuff that's of any great merit or value, there is debate. In North Lanarkshire, there is no debate, and one of the reasons there is no debate is that the opposition, the largest opposition party, the SNP group, were complicit in allowing debate to be shut down. That's just a fact. They made no bones about it when it was happening, but now that they want to present themselves as the champions of the Aquatec group, this is an injustice, it's undemocratic, they cry.
Still take my wage, Jim. Still take my wage, thanks very much.
You had the chance to do something about it when you were in the chamber, and you didn't.
Talked about anti-democratic process, we'll give you a lecture on it, my goodness. How many did we face? But anyway, as we sit and lament and still hope for an honest day in North Lanarkshire Council where any member can submit a motion or an amendment without fear or favour to a full council meeting, I've been your host tonight, Greg Lennon, and wishing you a very nice and lovely and peaceful night, and thanks for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Do you still think the Prime Minister should resign and go?
I stated my view. I stand by that view. I welcome the fact that there is now general acceptance that things have not been good enough, that there have been far too many mistakes, and things have to change. But I'm the one that's standing to be First Minister in 3 months' time. I'm the one that's putting myself before the people of Scotland in 3 months' time, and they deserve to know.